Ready to live at the higher vibrations, where peace, love, joy, and good health are the daily standard? That's what this show is all about. Welcome to Vibe. And here's your host, Robin Openshaw.
There is going to be a flight to safety for assets all over the world, and capital or money is going to move into Bitcoin. It's becoming really, really clear. We have been in an economic crisis since Liberation Day, April 2nd, where Trump told us that he was going to impose tariffs all over the world. Before long, he had to pause it and put a 90-day stay of execution, 10% tariff on everyone because China won't balk. He's up to 245% tariffs on China. We're losing. The United States is losing. And you know what? People are running to Bitcoin, and the price can only go up from here. So you have two choices as I see it. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't give financial advice, but I'm telling you how I see it and how I've invested my own money. I personally am as all in as I can be, even though Bitcoin is at 85,000. Yesterday, I got a call from two different friends. One's a real estate lawyer and one's an MBA who used to work on Wall Street. And both of them said, Robin, I know you've been telling me for years that I should buy Bitcoin. And they're right. I've been telling them since it was like $17,000 and now they're buying at 85,000. But the attorney is buying because her investment advisor now agrees with me that you should not only buy Bitcoin, but he didn't even try to put her in one of the ETFs or electronically traded funds, which as far as I'm concerned, if you're investing in a stock market product or a bank product like an ETF, the only reason you would do that is if you own a company whose accounting methods don't allow for you to buy your own Bitcoin. So if you're an individual or a retail investor, there's no reason why you shouldn't just own the Bitcoin itself. It's as easy as going on Coinbase or Uphold or Kraken or Gemini, setting up your own account. Within a day, maybe 5 days, if they put a hold on your funds, you're buying Bitcoin. Your other option is to sit this out, okay? And the downside of that is that you're sitting in cash while cash loses value. At least inflation has slowed down a little bit. It's not good for the world. It's not good for the US necessarily, because I think what we're seeing is deflation, where demand for products is so low. I'm seeing it in my own business that prices come down just because retailers are absolutely desperate to move their product. And so they bring prices down even if they're unprofitable. So we're down in the high twos in terms of our inflation now. So it's also a valid strategy to just hold your dry gunpowder in the form of cash and wait for the everything bubble to crash. If you believe that the stock market is going to crash and the real estate market is going to crash, my own wealth advisor, I picked him from literally listening to him dozens of times on YouTube on various financial channels, and he shared my outlook on the economy and was investing defensively. He has a portion of my money, but he knows that I'm 10 times bigger in Bitcoin than I am in the stock market and bonds and emerging markets that he has me in. So he knows that I have 10 times more Bitcoin than I have in the stock market. Honestly, I think it's more like 40 times more. So you could ride this out in cash and just hope that your cash doesn't lose value before you see the everything crash, because Bitcoin is likely to go with it. I also think that Bitcoin will recover faster. In 2020, which is the last time we saw a stock market crash on the order of what we just did after Liberation Day, which I put in quotes because we weren't really liberated from anything. We just sort of, became the emperor's new clothes, only now everybody knows that we're naked. We have the chance to sit there in cash and wait for it all to crash. If you believe that's what's going to happen, then waiting and hoping that Bitcoin crashes with everything else and then buying the deep dip, that's a valid strategy. With that, you're risk is that Bitcoin takes off, especially as governments start buying, cities are buying. The state of New Hampshire just passed a strategic Bitcoin reserve. I didn't even see that one coming. I knew who the top 5 were who were close to passing a strategic Bitcoin fund for their state, and New Hampshire wasn't even on the list. But as states and countries and public companies start buying, like MicroStrategies did, where they'd been losing ground for 10 years against big tech, and they didn't have a whole lot to lose because they had gone from over $1 billion company to $500 million. So Michael Saylor started buying Bitcoin, and now he's left after 24 years of running MicroStrategies to be out there full-time educating people about Bitcoin. He wants you, regular Joe and Jane, to own Bitcoin. He even says, he'll say it plainly, buy your own Bitcoin before you buy stock in my company, even though his company, which all it is at this point is basically a holding company for Bitcoin, is now the highest performing stock on all American stock exchanges, whereas before it was a complete unknown. So he's the first to say, and I'll tell you too, that there's no alternative, really. There's no second best to owning your own Bitcoin. It does come with some responsibilities. You have to, you can stamp your 12 seed phrases into titanium plates. Stampseed.com is one way to do that. But anyway, I just want to point out that the price that Bitcoin has sat at, which has done remarkably well and didn't tank 70% like it did in the stock market crash in 2020, where it was doing what the stock market did. If the stock market tanked, Bitcoin did too. We're seeing global liquidity at an all-time high right now. Bitcoin has historically, for the last 16 years, followed that, but by about a 12-week lag. So Bitcoin right now is set to take off because global liquidity, or how much money there is sitting out there in the world, has gone way up the last 12 weeks. So that's another reason to consider that your risk of sitting in dry gunpowder and not buying right now could be that Bitcoin takes off and goes to 140,000 or 150,000, and you never see your chance to buy at 85,000 again. So those are your choices. It kind of depends on what your thesis is. Maybe you don't have a thesis. For me, not really feeling like I can count on Bitcoin crashing down to 20,000 or 40,000 or some price where I'd prefer to buy it. I'm just all in, and I don't mind buying at 85,000, because if you believe that Bitcoin is going to 1 million and beyond per coin, while the fiat currencies of the world, backed by nothing and duking it out right now, and the US possibly losing its status as the global reserve currency. I mean, when the stock market crashes at the same time as the bond market, it goes into serious struggle, and some of the bond prices go above 5%. And so our fiscal debt is just going through the roof. Those are some bad signs, you guys. And I think that the Trump administration is aware that Bitcoin might be, if not the global reserve currency, at least a global reserve currency. We already have a statement from VanEck, a major financial institution, that China and Russia are transacting energy purchases in Bitcoin. So stable coins may prop up the dollar for the midterm, maybe even the long term, maybe the rest of your life and mine. Bitcoin is a big player, and you can own some. Okay. 0 is the wrong number. I may not give financial advice, but I will say 0 is the wrong number. Everybody should get some exposure to Bitcoin, which means you should own some. And I find that once you own some, then you start learning. And that's where we came in. 4 years ago, after I'd spent a year almost full time researching Bitcoin as my alternative, as my retirement off ramp, and trying to make sure that I don't lose all the money that I've spent my entire life saving, responsibly saving and investing. As I moved more and more into Bitcoin, it started by buying my first tranche of Bitcoin. So even if your first tranche of Bitcoin is $100 or $500 or $50,000 when you could afford to buy millions, I find that that's when people suddenly get more interested in learning. So we have a mastermind. It meets every Wednesday night. We have all of our classes recorded for your viewing pleasure if you can't show up on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Last night, we interviewed Larry Lepard, who just wrote a book called The Big Print, and it's for beginners. Okay, people who don't speak market speak and don't have all the jargon, teaching us why the dollar is on the decline, fiat currencies are on the decline, and we have an alternative. It's called Bitcoin. So join us. I'll put the link down below for you to get the free third month in my mastermind and start learning with us in a small group format where you can ask questions. And we often have some well-known Bitcoin celebrities on to pick their brain and learn what they know and how did they get the conviction to make their careers revolve around Bitcoin, as I sort of have too. I've kind of gone all in with my own net worth, and I've kind of gone all in terms of where I spend my time. I want to help research and educate more people about it because our health freedom matters. That's where my career's been for 19 years. But our economic freedom matters too. And we don't want to end up in a CBDC or central bank digital currency. And we don't want to be in the dollar that's losing value either. So come join us in the mastermind. Besides the free month down below, use coupon code ROBIN. My name's spelled with a Y for another $50 off. And I'll see you on Wednesday nights.